Mm,
We
this
are
is
now live. So I want to say welcome to all you taggers that are out there watching this and that will watch this on the replay. Today I have Poran Poregbal, who is a therapist herself and is involved with an organization that she founded called GV Counseling Education Society for Families and yeah, for families. And she's going to be talking today about diversity and therapy, how those two work together. So let me just show you Paran. There she is. Now we can see Paran. Say hello.
Hey! Wow, it feels good to be here.
That's great. That's great. And as you can see, Paran is got a great smile and a great laughter. I
Hmm.
worked with her for a number of years. As a matter of fact, we're still colleagues. We both work uh, part-time at the BC Society of Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse. So I get to see her wonderful presence every now and then. As a matter of fact, I saw her today too, so that was kind of cool.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
That's great. And so today we're going to be talking about diversity. I guess the first thing that comes to my mind, this of course, I'm making it very simple, but what is diversity and how do you define that? Paran, could you tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about that?
Being a diverse person that I am, I think diversity is a way of being.
Mm,
It's about being alive, being who you are, being the combination of the pieces and the parts of who you are.
okay.
And we have all those parts and pieces in us, given us to by parents, grandparents, or generations behind us, and by the borders, by the limitations, by the names and passports and colors, etc., that we have today.
Okay.
So for me, that's diversity.
Okay. And Paran, could you tell us a little bit about your story, where you came from and how you got into this whole helping professions and how your movement gave you your unique perspective on diversity?
Since a child, I was involved in, I was the child number one, and I had an interest for what people's mind are at and how people are thinking, and seeing the diversity in our own family and the class differences and the social injustice situation that I could watch and see. I mean, myself could go attend the school and have English as a first language, but I had some cousins living in the villages outside Tehran. They couldn't attend even a school.
Mm,
So from very early on, I was kind of introduced to this idea that we need social justice, we need equality. What is the difference between me and my cousins? And since grade 3 or 4, I remember I started to read books. I mean, reading books back then in my time, it was kind of unusual. You were not supposed to read books. It was not okay. So I was finding any book that I could, and I read it and kind of getting introduced to other worlds and etc. Even reading novels and just little pieces of stories here and there. So I was raised and born and raised in Iran. I left Iran at age 23. Back then, I had my family. I was married. I had one child. So, due to the revolution in Iran, etc., the situations that we were in, the war, the lack of kind of attending university, etc., I was in love to kind of continue my education. I got my grade 12 high school in back in Iran, and then afterwards I couldn't do anything else. So we left Iran at that age. We left to first we went to Germany. We stayed there for 2 years. I actually managed to learn Germany and attend Cologne University for one semester. and I want to read and write and learn, and I was in love with kind of studies. But then again, things happened, and we had to go back home. I didn't enjoy to be in Europe, and I kind of had this nostalgic view of life back home. I mean, Iran is a good country. Again, things happen, and we realize that no, you cannot live in this country due to the complications of politics, war, etc. So this time we left to Sweden, and Sweden is my another home country, if you can say that. So I started learning Swedish, and I had to give up my German language. I mean, I knew that I could fluently speak and write Germany back then, but I had to give it up to be able to learn Swedish, and I did that. So after a while, I started to attend university in Stockholm. So I got my social work degree there, and actually social work, it was an idea. I was trying to to kind of get into university. And once actually my husband, he said, why not social work? I'm like, I was back then interested of psychology, etc. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's so much me.
Mhm.
And the social work degree, etc. After kind of moving forward a little bit, coming here after 14 years, I lived in Sweden, coming here just for the notion of diversity, because in my idea, I mean, I lived there, I worked there, and I kind of integrated myself. I had two jobs. I managed through a whole bunch of struggles, etc. And but then something was missing, and we were like, I mean, Sweden is a very good country. I love Sweden. I go back every year. However, back then I was like, oh, this is too tight of a country, too tight of a space for me. I needed a bigger space. So we heard about Canada, and they said Canada is a diverse country. I'm like, yeah, really? So honestly, this is the case. So we came here. I'm like, wow, feels like home. Home Iran was always a diverse country until the complication started. I mean, we had Jews family, Jews neighbor, we had this Christian neighbor, we had that neighbor belonging to other kind of religion, ethnicity, etc. We all were neighbors, and my mom would send me to go give this soup of a bowl of soup to that neighbor who has called the Jewish neighbor, she would call it. So we were used to this diversity, but then once kind of everything is struggle, and you have to be this certain religion, etc. So for me was a kind of notion of being who I was before, and then in Sweden I was caught into this notion of, well, how to get into just becoming a Swedish person. And with my hair and my accent, I couldn't be a Swedish person 100%. So so I kind of realized that early on. I said, you know what? I am who I am. My name is Poran, and whoever want to get to know me, you have to learn my name. So, and started to feel better actually.
Uh-huh.
So once we came to Canada, I'm like, wow, this is so much like the country I knew, the home I knew. However, more modern, I think, new version of it. So
Mhm.
and since then, I have been here since '98 in Vancouver. I mean, I feel home because you go out and see so many different people, and we live together, we are working together. And of course, diversity has its own challenges, right?
Mhm.
To
Mhm.
understand one another, to kind of be able to empathize with the other person, empathy from the notion of being a therapist, and kind of put your feet in the other person's shoes, right? To
Mhm.
see what are the challenges, what are the issues you are dealing with. So since I came to Vancouver, I started to kind of work as a social worker, etc., for a couple of years for Ministry of Children and Family as a child protection, etc. However, even that was not fulfilling somehow. So started to work with just a few as a research assistant. I wanna because back home in Sweden, I after my social work degree, I started to, because I was hunting more. I started to study anthropology, and this was a question for me, answering the question of how people live their life. I mean, back in childhood, I was wondering what's going on in people's mind, and now again, now I was getting the question of how people are living their life. For being so, as a social worker, I was could understand
Mhm.
why people are living their life this and that way. So now this was the question. So coming forward, but to 90, when was it, 2004 or something to 2005, I started to realize that I need to get into psychology to understand the real question I had, what's going on in people's mind once they are behaving this and that way. So,
Yeah.
and actually, before starting my clinical degree or master degree, I very kind of for some reason, I don't know how, but I got to know. I saw an ad, I think, about male survivor. They were looking for victim services, and for me, like, oh, male survivors of sexual abuse. Oh, what an interesting thing, because I have always that social justice question for me was kind of here shining, that yes, a male also could be sexually abused, because I had worked many years with women. So I find this line of work very interesting. And since 2004, I'm here, as you know. And this is also part of the my experiences as a therapist, that this is a diversity thing as well. Of course,
Mhm.
male coming here, and me as a female, me as a diverse person, having a background of being Iranian, knowing Germany, speaking Swedish, having being a mother, being a wife, and I mean all those aspects of diversity, and now sitting in a room with a male survivors of sexual abuse. So kind of for me has been a of being a kind of large type of experience, a professional
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm.
And here I have grown, and I'm so grateful for that. So I don't know if I'm talking too much. Just just admit.
Well, it makes my job easy.
Yeah.
Brad, could you just flip your screen back a little bit so I can get a bit more headroom on you? Just push it. There we go. There,
Hmm.
yeah, just a bit. That's fine.
Good.
Just that little bit. Thanks. That's great.
Okay.
Excellent. So you've given us your historical background, and obviously it's incredibly diverse. You've had a very rich, challenging, interesting life by the sounds of it. And so you come to a city, Vancouver, which is considered one of the more diverse cities probably in the world, and yet you feel very at home here. You said it reminds you of your original home, if you will, but a bit
Mm.
more modern. And so I think we got a fairly idea of what constitutes diversity. But what are some of the challenges or some of the things that we as therapists should be aware of when we work with someone who is different from us?
Mm. Yeah, this is the biggest challenge for myself, as not as a therapist, as the person that I was before living in a life as a new immigrant person, female, and everyone kind of assuming that all immigrants are the same, or they are coming from same background, and assuming many things that didn't exist, right? And I have suffered a whole deal
Mm,
because of that. So assume the person sitting in front of you could be of the I mean, what you think. You never assume, because people are different, definitely. even if, I mean, people coming here from my own home country, I cannot assume that they would understand what I am trying to say, or trying to express myself. So this is the biggest challenge. Usually we say, I mean, I remember those years back in Sweden, people were like, "Oh, where are you from?" This is the question that was that caused me a lot of money to move from that country. Honestly, because me and my family is. I mean, where are you from? Okay, I'm from Iran. Oh, right. Okay. So they would, with this question, they would think that Iranian women are this and that, and they are all abused, they are all neglected, blah, blah, blah. And I had to kind of use so much energy and effort to kind of
Mhm.
tell them, no, this is not the way, etc. So at some point, I learned, you know what? Let them think whatever. So this is the thing. We are as therapists, we are meeting many, many different people. We don't know who they are, even if they are coming from same country as us, same city as us, having the same religion, blah blah blah. We don't need to find commonalities with our client.
Did you
Let
say,
them be who they are.
okay,
Yeah.
let them, now did you say we don't need to find commonalities, or we do?
No, 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 no. We don't. Because it is not ours. The time that we are sitting with client is not our time, right?
Right.
We don't need to kind. Of course, there is transparency and counter-transparency thing, right, going on. However, keep it to yourself. Know your emotion, what's going on,
Yes.
and if even if you are seeing a person with whatever background, you cannot assume that, oh yeah, I understand this, yeah, I know, let's go.
Right.
um, this is easy. It's not
Right.
easy way. Yeah,
Right.
this is the thing. We, because some therapists kind of, we usually, not we, some people tend to favor, right, favor
Right.
clients. This type of client are better matching my way of working, etc. It's okay. I mean, you have to be okay with that as well. However, because of the diversity thing, we don't know.
Okay. So first thing is get rid of any assumptions that I might have about that person who's sitting opposite me. Just try to
Mhm.
be
Or be aware of that. We cannot get rid of assumptions. we
okay.
we still have it. It
Okay.
is in our core value, right?
Right.
And we learn experiences telling us, I mean, I see a person with that type of hair, or that type of, I mean, physical body with tattoos, etc. Something else going on in my mind, right?
Yes.
Be aware of that.
Okay.
So that's very important.
So
Yeah.
self-awareness, self-reflexivity, being conscious that I cannot help but have biases. That's just
Hmm.
can't help that. I've been brought up in
No.
my culture, so I have certain
Hmm.
assumptions. So as long as I'm
Yeah.
aware of that, then I can be as open as possible with my client.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're more yourself, and you're genuine,
Hmm.
you're respectful, you listen more,
Hmm.
you're curious, you ask right questions.
Mm. Okay, asking
uh,
right questions. So what are some of the, I mean, you alluded to the fact that you got tired of being asked, where are you from? You know, and often when I'm working with a client that I know is from another country, at some point I'll say, well, where are you from? Because that gives me, I'm, I make the assumption that will give me some information that I'll put in my mind as to what that might mean. Of course, you've just pointed out that uh, that can be dangerous, that I have to be very careful just because you're from Germany or you're from Sweden or you're from South Africa, that I have to be very aware of the assumptions that I overlay on top of that person.
mhm. Yeah, because that question puts you in a box, right?
Mm.
As soon as someone asks you that question, you're in a box.
Mm.
What other type of uh, kind of information is going to be put into that box? It is there. Usually it is lots of questions to lots of answers there with that box. So
Right.
kind of that question put me off so much. Actually, I was writing articles. I have so many articles on e-zine magazine.
Mhm.
It's an online magazine, and this was one of them. I don't remember the title, but I said kind of, where are you from? It's very dangerous question. Don't ask that. who
Because when I
or yeah.
because when I think about it, I hardly ever ask that of clients that are the same cultural background as me. I mean, I might at some point say, "Oh, you know, are you from back east or this city or whatever?" But that I might not even ask that. But with all my
Mm.
clients that are from other cultures, I almost invariably ask that at some point.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
Maybe if you, this is the thing, they have been asked this so many times before.
Uh-huh.
Most probably, some people maybe they are not kind of, they don't care, or they are not be bothered. But in my view, those people who all those years they were asking me, oh,
Yes.
where are you from? And I would kind of answer, oh, Iran. All right. Oh, really? Iran is like this and that. And I had to kind of explain myself all the time. So
Mhm.
at some point I said, you know what, why should I explain myself to anyone?
Right.
And I learned something very tricky, interesting. This was after 10, 12 years. I said, as soon as someone would ask me, where are you from? I would say, where are you from? I will like feel good about it. so, I, so I would put the ball back into the
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
backyard. Saying, okay, where are you from? How was your experience being raised and born and raised in that and that space? So
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, so I mean, we're not even halfway through our conversation yet, and I've already learned something that I will definitely apply to my work with the clients that I work with, because I work with clients. Many of my clients are from other countries, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Uh, so now, also, I talked when we were talking earlier that there's the diversity of people coming from other cultures to wherever you're practicing, but we also have diversity within families. So, say people who are from two different cultures themselves. What are some of the challenges you see with those situations?
Mhm. I see couples all the time, and all couples, there is no way you find a couple that they are not multicultural. Even if you're from same city, same country, same city, same neighborhood, you have components of diversity in you. So this is a challenge. People, that's why I said don't try to find similarities.
Hmm.
People are trying to find similarities, and
Hmm.
once they cannot find it, that become a conflict.
Right.
Oh, you're like this and I'm like that. It's always me and you, it's always we and them.
Hmm.
So, and I tend to tell couples, usually once I see them and there are challenges like this, I say, you know what, it looks like that you guys are talking two different languages, and there is no common language here, and people get that. It's like you are talking Chinese or Arabic, and there is nothing in between. So how would you understand one another? No way, right? So it is a challenge, and most because of some people, respect for diversity has not been as much as math and physics has been taught in schools. I
Hmm.
guess nowadays people are talking more about diversity, but human mind, humanity, respect for one another. I mean, these are the things that we have to understand more. So couples, they have to understand, and people who get this point, they understand and say, you know what, this is the way he is, this is the way you are. So can you find something in between? Any way you can find a shared space that, and respect the space that you and he have. So kind of these are the things that we have to be aware of.
Hmm.
People never the same, coming from the same community. I mean, diversity is everywhere,
Okay.
everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, this is what I learned in anthropology, and diversity is about the way. It's not only about what the surface thing, language,
Hmm.
nationality, da da da. It's about the way you were brought up, the way you believe in things, etc. Very important.
So as therapists, I think it would be what you're saying is we need to embrace diversity in a big, big way, not only for the
Mhm.
clients that are like us, but for all clients.
Mhm. Definitely for all clients, and be aware of that. That uh, you're seeing someone very new, and couples and people. That's why the relationship challenges exist, right? Because
Hmm.
people cannot understand the point of view of the other. This is the communication difficulties, challenges.
Hmm. Hmm.
Simplify the languages, simplify the wordings, simplify the meanings behind the wordings, etc.
Okay. Now we have many different kinds of new people to our country, to our city. Um, I was thinking we have people who are refugees, we have people who are new immigrants, we have people who are on work visas, we have students, we have, it goes on and on. There's all different types of people who come into this culture. What are some of the challenges that they have?
Of course, there are big challenges. I mean, the fact that, I mean, why people are coming here, because they are coming from conflict zones, right? People are finding safety here because the country in background there is no safety. And why there is no safety? Because there are challenges in understanding one another. I mean, in my view, stupid leaders, sorry, leaders who don't understand the world, and they get into conflict with one another and put people at risk. So they are coming here because, and they you basically in, especially in the refugee families, I have worked with them so many times, and I see that they are not only in conflict with the places they are coming from, they are conflict with themselves. They have not learned this, and they cannot value self. How can they value others? So these are the things, and I have tried. I mean, I'm offering workshops here and there, and I have tried to tell the immigration ministry or these are the important aspects that you have to highlight and explain and teach and educate people once they arrive. Not only about an integration, how to go to doctor, how to go to school, eh, in basically from very core values of who we are, how why we need to respect the other, right?
Mm, mhm,
So these are
mhm,
the challenges, and
mhm.
usually in the different groups, there are always we and them. We like this, them like that, and to break this, we have to break these cycles, vicious cycles that can go on and become very dangerous.
So this splitting too, my first wife was Italian, and her parents, she was born in Italy but came here very young. But her parents were very conflicted. They were here, and I saw so much stress in them because they should I go back to the home country or should I stay here? And they kept going back and forth, and they never moved back, but they always had this conflict, you know, of they visited regularly and stuff like that. And that's something I see with a number of my clients too. They're very torn. How do you address
Mhm.
that issue?
That's the problem with the immigrant community. Not
Mm,
only now, always. I mean, and that's why I always in our parenting groups I tell people, you know what? First of all, parents usually say, "Oh, we came here because of you." They
hmm.
are telling the child, because you could have better education, you live in safety, etc. And we sacrifice our life for you. So they already put a lot of heavy weight on the child's mind that he is the reason or she is the reason for parents being depressed, sad, angry, mad,
Mm-hmm.
unemployed, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then, so here they are kind of transferring their own anxiety. So they are torn definitely in many different ways, and mental health issues arising from that.
Right.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, in my work with, I mean, the all communities, most of them, some of them are from the immigrant communities. I see that why people are torn apart because they are they don't know where they belong to. Sense of belonging is important.
Mm-hmm. So
Where do we
how do
belong
you
to? Yeah.
how do you create or how assist them in creating a sense of belonging?
To understand, to value themselves and understand where they are, what are the benefits of being where they are and who they are, and kind of relate, find a meaning to attach to whatever we have around us, why we are here, what was the main reason that we left our home country,
Mm-hmm.
what was the first motivation, and remembering that motivation. And yes, we are here, and accepting the reality. Acceptance
Mm-hmm.
is a huge word, and usually ask people to kind of meditate on the word acceptance. Once we get into that point, I say, when I tell you accept,
Mm-hmm.
close your eyes and tell me, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
I use so much mindfulness in my practice, and
Mm-hmm.
people are like, wow, sense of relief. Oh my gosh, yeah, I need to accept where I am, etc. This is my life. Life has, or destiny, life, whatever, has brought me here to this level, to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I can be myself. I can find myself again.
Yeah.
So huge importance I put
Mm.
on that sense of
Yeah.
belonging.
Yeah. I have one couple where the family split. The father has custody of the children, stayed here in Canada, and the other person went back to Afghanistan. And you can imagine the impact that would have on the children. Do you also see? And I mean, I know this is an obvious question, but what are some of the complexities that occur when you have families breaking up and maybe even one of them going back to the home country?
Oh yeah, I have seen so many of those families coming here, staying for a while. They get into challenges. Usually, men don't find a job, and they are coming from a better position. Wife, they want to stay. She finds a job, and there is a sense of lack of communication, lack of respect for the new life, etc. So children, they are suffering. Usually, teenagers get into this conflict. I mean, I see those families every day.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, the best solution the father finds or someone finds is like, oh, let's go back. We cannot do this here. And they go back. However, this they since once you have started to think about immigration, your life is changed. I always tell people, your life is changed since then. You're always torn apart between, should I be here? Should I be there? Should I be here? And so there are huge complications, and usually the separation and isolation of family members
Mm-hmm.
and lack or loss of social support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And what
definitely.
about for
I
the
see that.
yeah? And what about for the children themselves? Do you see a lot of children in your practice, and how how do they adapt? Do they adapt easier than the parents, or is it harder for them, or what are some of the challenges that they face?
Children adopt easier. However, once they are in families who there is lots of conflicts and struggles like this, parents arguing back and forth, we cannot do this here, we don't have money, oh, we cannot afford this and that. Usually these children are struggling because they see the conflict and they cannot, and they internalize it thinking it is their problem, they have caused something. And usually children, I mean, I see lots of mental health issues in children,
Mm.
depression with young children,
Mm.
and anxiety. I have children, I have families with 11-year-old, 12 years old coming for anxiety. So of course, why they get anxiety? And usually, I mean, I am into much thinking about attachment system, etc. I check into that, and once you see that, then we see parents, they don't have any safe attachment style
Right.
anyway.
Right.
So the result, you know,
That's it. That's
and children cannot concentrate.
right. That that's an interesting thing you say about attachment, because the parents have become disattached or unattached from their home country,
Hmm.
and then trying to recreate that security in the new place.
Hmm.
So how
And
do
they
you,
can't.
they can't. That's why
They
they're having
can't
problems
without help and support.
without help and
Yeah,
support.
that's
Right.
the problem. Without education support, they can't.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So it, and I'm assuming too with some cultures that the man has the belief that they should be able to know how to make it work and find a solution by
Hmm.
themselves.
Hmm. Definitely. I mean, some, yeah, most families coming from Middle East, usually that's the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, we cannot assume everything is like that,
Mm-hmm.
but usually that's the case until they come here. Usually those families, the men who are trying to be in control, here they lose control because other family members are kind of running ahead, learning a new aspect of life, and that's the conflict starts. Cannot accept this, right? And feeling behind, and feeling that the family is running ahead of them and they know better, and so they lose lots of control for some men,
Right.
and also some women who are trying to control the family. It's very difficult. Yeah.
Right. So it sounds to me like it must be massive change, and you must be open to newness, which, as we know,
Mm.
most human beings don't like change. They like to stay in
Mm.
control. So that must
Yeah.
be awfully disturbing.
I call it trauma.
Mm-hmm.
All this as a trauma. Honestly, I believe most immigrant families, immigrants, they are deeply traumatized one way or another. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just from that, the first stage of leaving, I mean, losing your support system. Once you come here and you realize, wow, what happened? I mean, physically I moved, but emotionally I'm back there.
Mm.
So this is the first trauma, and especially for refugees. I mean, these days some refugees they go back, etc. after a while. However, in my time, I mean, once you were a refugee, you couldn't go back because of so many things. I mean, now things are changing. So knowing that you cannot go back
Mm.
is very hard. It's
Yes.
difficult. It's not only difficult. Difficult is a simple word. It's traumatizing.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Hmm. I mean, I'm just sort of letting that in. And as you speak, I have all sorts of clients, present and past, that come to mind, and also friends, even a teacher. I remember one, my theater teacher, he was from Romania, and it was communist at the time, and he was performing in Paris, and his wife decided to defect, and he didn't want to because he was famous in Romania, and so but he, he went with his wife's decision, and he was not able to see his mother for about 11 years, and he was very resentful. Um, And I hear that with teenagers being very, very resentful of being taken from their country, their home country, when they're still teenagers, in particular.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that I have felt with every piece of my body and blood because I have lived, I'm living that life, right? I left Iran 30 something years ago and never gone back. However, there is no one day
Mm,
I'm thinking that, wow, would be nice.
mm,
And, you know, you always think, well, what would my life be like if I was there, if I
mhm,
had not left? Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
However, as I said before, this is trauma, and we have to work on trauma, and that's why kind of I'm specializing in trauma because I understand trauma.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So,
deep from within. Yeah.
right. So, for the therapists that are listening to you right now, what would be some tips that maybe that you give them as they support their clients working through trauma? What are some of the important points to think about?
Be patient. Be
Mm,
patient and give people hope.
mm,
If this is the main thing, I mean, I never forget people who gave me hope in those very difficult years I had. And give people hope. Just you don't need to just hope, whatever. Just be there and show them empathy. Really, empathy is something that works. Empathy, at times, you don't need to say a word. Just with your gestures, with your tone of voice, with your eyes, with your the way of being and relating to client, it's healing. That has healing effect.
mhm.
If people feel that they are understood,
Yeah,
it's easier for them to handle the pain.
yeah. And what about for the therapists themselves? Because even as you were saying this, I'm very touched and my eyes are tearing up. I'm going, why am I tearing up? I mean, I've heard horrible stories and I've worked with a number of clients who've been tortured as well. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, hmm, I wonder if I have a little bit of vicarious traumatization myself.
Yeah, we all have it definitely. Um, we need to self-care,
Hmm.
and self-care is not only about the bubble bath or gym or this and that. It's about awareness, awareness of how the stories are impacting our body. I
Hmm.
always, every day, I mean, sitting with clients, once they are talking about difficult times or difficult things, I'm aware of my own body and how I kind of take in the stories. And I'm doing the healing work on myself first in that session, in that very moment.
Hmm.
As I
Yeah.
as I speak, and once I tell clients that you know what this has effect on me, and I'm trying to be aware of myself and my own body, so I start breathing, and they get it.
Right.
So it's very important
Okay.
that I kind of differentiate yourself from the story.
Right.
Don't be part of it. Yeah.
Mm. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I'm breathing here. I'm taking deep breaths. Oh, Paran,
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for this. You've really given me a new lens in which to see my clients, which is the lens of diversity itself, which I never really thought about specifically. I thought of I'm very good at being with my clients and being empathetic, but I I did bring a lot of assumptions because I'm very knowledgeable. I've traveled, I've lived in other countries, and I realized that may have been getting in the way of my being with my clients even more openly and without any assumptions, to really see them
Mhm.
as unique and their challenges as particular to them. So I really want to thank
Mhm.
you for that. It's a real learning for me, and I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the beauty of your soul and the work that you're doing with all of your people. I want to thank you very much.
And thanks for inviting me. Every time I talk about these things, kind of it has a healing effect on myself,
Mm,
honestly.
okay.
And I understand that the world is getting it. The more we talk about it, the more this knowledge is out there, and yeah, it's very helpful. Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome. It's been such a pleasure to talk and converse and be with you. And right now, I just want to invite all the therapist assist group participants to let other people know about our Facebook group and invite them in. I think this is an important service, and we definitely value and honor diversity. Our little logo on the side, if you notice the hands, the multicolored hands. And for me too, it's also about love, and I think Poran exemplifies the huge heart that she has, that she brings to us. So I want to thank you once again, Poran, and say goodbye to all our friends who are watching this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye.
Bye.